Man, it's smoky in here. So, hey, man, we did this last time. I'm going to do it again this time. Last time, I think I did it on a, YouTube short or whatever those are called. But let's talk about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Forever, eh? Um, just got in the theater watching it. I kind of watched it one and a half times, I want to say. So I just my initial thoughts, non-spoiler, obviously. I seen a lot of people will post, online and straight up DC marks are like it's 5 out of 10. Marvel marks will say it's a 9.8. It's not nearly that bad, and it's not the best that Marvel's put out, but it's a good film. It was in a tough situation to begin with when the tragic, untimely passing of or early passing of Chadwick Boseman, and they had this project that they had to do, and they had to do the best with what they had. That being said, I mean, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes long. There's a mid-credit scene, and it was a good film. I mean, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's not an excellent film. Interesting things about it is surprisingly, Shuri gives shout out to everybody in the live chat. What's up, Patrick? Cherokee Metal, Nerd Out. Yeah, 8 out of 10. That's right. That's right about my. Well, I grade typically on a CDC scale, so I would say it's an 8.5. I gave Black Adam an 8.0. I mean, but here's the brutal truth about things. Okay, we're just amongst friends here. For all of you watching, which is 12 of you right now. I don't normally go live without telling you guys something, but it's DC, fair or unfairly, DC has a much lower bar to set for itself from both fans and critics for what they consider a good film. Um, you know, I've seen people saying like Black Adam is a 10 out of 10. It is not a 10 out of 10. Is it an entertaining film? Yes, but there could have been a lot better things done. But for what DC has done recently, it's pretty damn good for what they've been doing. Marvel, on the other hand, has an excellent track record. Say what you well about this phase. Like, I really like Shang-Chi. I really dug Endgame and No Way Home. Hell, I like the Eternals, but not as much as those other films. So I mean, it's like going to your favorite pizza joint, right? It's pizza. It's good, right? Even bad pizza you're gonna eat on a hungry day. But the bar is set really high for Marvel, fair or unfairly, and it's overly criticized by comic book geeks, movie critics. Like, I saw the critic score is like at 84%, and the audience score is like way above that. And I think 84% on the critic score is just about right for this film. Black Adam really got a shitty critic score, and we got a really high audience score, and it's somewhere in between. I think the critics and audience members got this one right. Um, the emotional notes it hits is pretty good. I was expecting more, to be honest with you, but the woman that was sitting next to us was sobbing at the end of the film. Um, excuse me. The cinematography was very well done, I thought. Some of the way, for some reason, in the first Black Panther, I don't know, what kind of looks, well, maybe they had to rebuild it after Endgame, but it looked a bit more drab than what we saw in the first Black Panther film, right? It looked like more, I don't know, how do I say it? More glassy and more, bright. This one, it looks more muted, but there's obviously we all know Chadwick Boseman passed away, so we know Black Panther passed away. They don't say exactly how he died, that he just died of a sickness. Really well done with how they did the funeral scene. And this movie is really about Shuri and her going through the whole grief process, and then learning to become this, that, and the other. That's all I say. That Ree Williams, the way she's put in, is kind of just shoehorned in there. It almost reminds me of Peter Parker's introduction into the MCU, right? This kid that's just really smart that did this thing, and Tony Stark found them. Similar to the same way, but Ree Williams is kind of used by, let's say, certain government actions. Um, yeah, Mojo. Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, go watch it again, and Wakanda doesn't nearly look as shiny and aspiring as it used to. Same thing about Thor. If the first Thor film, and Braddock or the director made this kind of outer space looking, thing of Asgard, and then the subsequent directors kind of made it more Asgardian per se, as opposed to kind of outer space thing per se. Um, I thought the Dora Milaje was really good. They do call him Namor, even though Tanesh Huerta says Namor, but he goes, his villains call him Namor, or the people that hate his enemies call him Namor. And sure enough, everybody else calls him Namor. He's the only one who says Namor. And I think I was skeptical on him as an actor for this part, but I think he nailed it as well. I think there's certain things about the character's origin that their folks aren't going to like, and I think purposely Marvel did that because it's his, you know, he became before Aquaman, but Aquaman film already came out, so he really can't use Atlantis. So I think they used the whole Aztec thing pretty well. Without getting into any more details about that portion of it. The beginning starts off really well. I think it's great action sequences. So the movie is really it's three parts of a film, right? There's always a beginning, a middle, and end, just like any story. I think the opening act was really done, a lot of action, sets it up. Then the middle act is somewhat of a lull. And then the third act starts off with it starts off with a bang, and it kind of ends on somewhat, kind of, yeah, you really did it that way. You could have done it better. You know what I'm saying? They didn't. I don't think they quite stuck the landing, but the mid credit scene really is interesting, especially for you comic book speculators out there who've been probably buying this book for the last 8 or 9 months. And no, Doctor Doom isn't in the film. He's not alluded to in the film or anything. There, I think there I mean, so don't stick toward the end credits. But I will tell you this: if you stay to the very, very end credits, it does say that Black Panther will be back. Now, I don't know how they're going to do that. To be honest with you, I don't know. Um, if Shuri's going to continue the mantle of the Black Panther. No spoilers in the live chat too. Um, yeah, there's no Atlantis because obviously, what's funny is if you remember one of the early first phase one Marvel films, when they looked at the map, they pointed to Atlantis, right? But yeah, they don't call it Atlantis, but there is definitely Namor's kind of underground Aztec city. I like Atuma and Namora look absolutely freaking great, man. Their blue skin and the armor that they use is pretty incredible. And they don't explain it how they got that strong, but I don't know. They may be living under hundreds of miles of ocean. The pressure of uh, the water makes you stronger. I don't know. Well, I'm not a scientist. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Nemora was, yeah. Nerd out for what? Yeah, Nemora. I think they nailed that. But going forward, I think they should change Namor's costume. Maybe give him more of a full on like war body armor. But Tanesh Horta did a pretty good job. Um, so yeah, it's not funny, but it has its comedic moments because if it didn't, it would just be a really kind of bleak, kind of sad, emo type film. And I think it's good that they break it up with these kind of little bits of humor that they do. Surprisingly, from what's his name, Umbaku, right? Umbaku has some funny lines in there. And Riri Williams obviously doing Ironheart, and she's gonna have her own Disney Plus series, and it gets into her a little bit, not as much as you would think, but it's really a story about Shuri and how she deals with grief and the who's going to rule Wakanda and how they deal with the loss or the loss of their leader, King T'Challa. At the very beginning, there's this weird thing about and you see it in the trailers. The Queen of Wakanda, or T'Challa's mother, goes in front of the UN, and they basically tell him that, "Hey, how come you're not sharing?" This is a very minor spoiler, by the way. "How come you're not sharing, uh, vibranium like you said you were?" Right? When, at the end of Black Panther, he said he was gonna help out the world more. And then, at one point she says something like, you know, it can be used as a weapon, not by in our hands, but other people's hands. And that's why you kind of have this everybody looking for it. And there's a certain area where, let's just say, there's another place in the world where there's also vibranium. So they say it briefly in the movie. Obviously, they literally say it. They say, well, maybe when a meteorite fell to Earth, there was more than one, and that's why there's these other forces of vibranium. So I think that opens up, to other movies where maybe Doctor Doom is looking for vibranium or somebody else. I mean, the secret's out. Everybody knows Wakanda's there now. It's even on the there's a piece during the film. CNN says, the leader of a small island of Wakanda has passed away after after being sick. So it's no secret now. Everybody knows that Wakanda's out there, but it still has this kind of invisible force field or whatever's way a barrier around it. And basically it's like we've always thought it was going to be. It was a movie about the war of Atlantis between Wakanda and whatever that damn name of the city. I forgot what it was called, but basically them against them. It's hard to say. It's a typical comic book origin, right? They meet up, they battle, they become allies, they battle again, they become allies. It's all comic book movies have these tropes, right? They're pretty much what you expect, but it's not nearly as bad as DC Marks would say. It's not nearly as good as Marvel Marks would say. It's definitely a good movie for the phase continuing, going forward. It's just got to be in a movie theater again, see an event film like this, right? We don't get to see event films anymore. Where it's my theater was absolutely packed. The AMC Prime, AMC Dolby, all even the regular showings. I mean, there was poor Black Adam because there was Black Adam was down on like one screen and there was nobody in there. So go out and support comic book movies, be it Black Adam or Black Panther, and Wakanda Forever, man. I think it was a nice way to say goodbye too, man. The end Marvel banner, just sit there and be quiet and enjoy it, and you'll see the kind of visceral reaction that people have. That's what I think of it. Ultimately, it wasn't like a sad movie; it was a tribute per se. But it's that's why these first out of theater reviews are always interesting to me. That I do because I try to wrap my head around it and say, what did I think better? Eventually, I'll do a full on spoiler review, maybe with one of the few other lords who've seen it and see what they think. So, not just don't believe what people tell you. Go and see it and make up your own mind. I mean, I seen on Instagram some guy saying it's 5 out of 10, some guys saying it's 10 out of 10. Some people saying it's 8 out of 10. Somewhere it's somewhere in the middle, right? To me, it's like an 8.5. If Endgame is a 9.8, then this is probably an 8.5. And it's pretty much just Namor and Black Panther. It's not like you know, um, it's not like Spider-Man No Way Home where it's all these other characters and everything. But I think this movie would do very well at the box office. Trust me. I think it'll may easily 800, 900. Maybe a billion. You never know. But all of my showings are sold out. So till next time, boys and girls, keep digging in their long boxes and go see the movie. Make your own decision on what you think of it. But Wakanda Forever in the comments below. What you guys think of it? No spoilers, please.